Hey guys, welcome back to Much Ado About Nerd Things. My name is Lin, and I'm back to talk about the Loki season finale. There's a lot to talk about, including who really is He Who Remains, who is Kang, but not really Kang, and breaking down all the mysteries of the ending, like what happened to the TVA, what's the impact of the multiverse returning, where is Sylvie now, and what's gonna happen to her in season 2? And more importantly, will Mobius remember Loki and his love for jet skis? Oh, and of course, as always, like, subscribe, and ring that little bell icon. Alright, let's get into it. So let's talk about this Kang but not really Kang, He Who Remains. Played masterfully by Jonathan Majors there. And if you didn't like his little quirky thing, not reflective of the stoic Kang the Conqueror, do not worry. When he plays Kang the Conqueror, he will probably portray him differently. I think people need to be very clear. This is not Kang the Conqueror. This is a variant. He doesn't even claim to be the original, in which the context of the multiverse is a word that have no meaning. I mean, technically, there isn't a prime Kang and variants. They're all variant. But this one was only identified as He Who Remains. But like I mentioned before, the character he have most in common from the comic is Immortus, who was empowered by the Timekeepers with powers over time to safeguard the timeline. Of course, comic Immortus and this He Who Remains is not exactly the same, because in the comics, the Timekeepers exist as well as Immortus. There is also a character called He Who Remains in the comic as well, who is one of the Timekeepers who stay alive at the end of time to restart everything all over again to found the TVA so they can safeguard everything from the beginning of time to end of time. It's essentially a closed loop, like an Ouroboros. In explaining his origins, this Kang variant, He Who Remains, also tell us about Nathaniel Rich's backstory, the man who became Kang. But he doesn't mention them by name, quite possibly because they probably not yet sure that they're going to actually have that descendant of Reed Richards link, or they want to save it later for when Fantastic Four is closer to tug on that link. So if you're particular about names, this guy probably shouldn't be called Kang. And the simple fact is, we just don't know how the MCU is going to go with the naming scheme. Are they going to call them all Kang and select few Kang the Conquerors? Or are they going to say the man is Nathaniel Richards and select few have come to refer to themselves as Kang? And there are also other versions who refer to themselves by other names like He Who Remains, and maybe Immortus, Ramatut, Mr. Griffin, all the other funky variants of Kang that's out there. My money is on we don't hear the word Kang until Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. But what I don't see a lot of fans or people who talk about these kind of things on social media and YouTube talking about is He Who Remains and his word is 100% not to be trusted. I mean, what he says about him dying leading to the multiverse returning, that's definitely true. And I think a lot of the other things he says are also true. But I am 100% sure that there is a lot more he didn't say or deliberately misled or hid from Loki and Sylvie and from the viewer. Okay, let's start with the simple thing. Originally, he's a man, as he described it. So we have no explanation as to how he got these powers that affect all of the multiverse. Why does killing him bring back the multiverse? Why has he, as he described, looped and lived through the multiverse over and over and over again? How does he loop normally? Does Loki and Sylvie come here and kill him every time? Is this actually just another one of the loops? Some of his words can be interpreted that way. Because he said, if you kill me, we have to do this all over again.
And I just end up right back here anyways. Reincarnation, baby.
Which means the other choice he gives for Loki and Sylvie to take over must be to break the loop that he's in. And the choice Sylvie chose put us all back at square one again, fighting the multiverse war. And this He Who Remains trying to fight the other versions of himself using the TVA all over again. Which would explain what happened to the TVA at the end of the episode. Back to his powers, that little bracelet he have clearly does a lot of stuff including open the time gate, which Sylvie pushed Loki through. But he doesn't give the impression that that's where all the power is. He in fact laid it down in front of Loki and Sylvie quite nonchalantly. He offered to transfer the power over all of time and the sacred timeline to Loki and Sylvie, but he doesn't quite explain the ins and out of it. And everything else he has done, including the technology the TVA employ, are all science-based. So where did magic enter into it at some point? For that matter, what did he do to the TVA agents for them to forget about their former lives and become the agents of the TVA? These are all not only unexplained, does not add up to his version of the story, which leads me to the timekeepers. If you watch closely, when he starts talking about the timekeeper, he look up at Loki and Sylvie as if he's considering saying something else, and then suddenly change his mind and just tell them it's the fake dogma, I'll tell you the truth. I mean, I guess at the surface, you can take it as he was considering lying and still selling them the dogma, but I think there's a little bit more to it than that. I think there was timekeepers at some point. Because look at this castle. This is supposed to be where he who remains live alone, his base that nobody can enter. Because remember, Elias is guarding the gate between the void and this castle. So why does he have statues of the timekeepers? If it is really a lie, fake dogma, who is it for? And if you look closely in the episode, there are 4 statues of the timekeeper. The 3 that remain standing are the ones that look like the animatronic timekeepers we saw, but the 4th one is completely shattered and we don't know who it is. And in the comic, there was a 4th timekeeper. And people have started to point out that this timekeeper dogma and lies is not necessary if it is completely made up. Because really, what the TVA workers are being told is that they are pruning timelines and keeping the sacred timeline for the greater good. And that is true, as Kang explains it anyway. It is to keep the other Kangs at bay. So with or without the timekeeper fiction, the TVA would be doing the exact same thing. So why this lie? Could that be why at the end of the episode, we just see a statue of Kang in the TVA instead of the timekeepers? Is this him changing his approach, this loop around?
Tell the workforce who they are and why they do what they do.
Look, all I'm saying is Sylvie is right not to trust him, and she did nothing wrong considering a person in her situation. Because even if he's not lying, even if everything he's saying is true, have you ever heard of the saying, he who give up freedom for security deserves neither? So fuck that noise. Screw everything the TVA is doing and it stands for. I stand with Sylvie. Some people are saying, oh, why isn't Sylvie in charge of the TVA now? Why is it Kang? Well, I don't understand why people are asking this at all. Because the choice He Who Remains gave was either take over the TVA or kill me and unleash the multiverse. It's not both. So however this works, Sylvie didn't choose to take over the TVA. She chose to stab He Who Remains to death. We don't know what she does after. I imagine she just took the pet and noped out of there. Hopefully we'll find out in season 2. I don't think taking over the TVA was ever on the table for her. And of course, what's happened with the TVA and why can't that TVA agent and Mobius remember Loki? Well, a lot of people are saying, oh, he went to another multiverse, to a different TVA. I don't think so, because the TVA is outside of time and space. Season 1 quite clearly established that. So I don't think there are multiple TVA. No, I think there have always been one TVA being founded and controlled by one variant of Kang, who used it to organize the timeline into a sacred timeline. I don't think we're going to see a conflict between different TVAs. Look, the fact of the matter is they're only giving us enough of the rules to justify what is happening right now. Some of the rules, I bet they haven't even decided on. In fact, if you look at the director, Kate Herron's talking about what happened at this scene, Howard can support both an alternate TVA and a TVA who has been altered because of what Sylvie did. And because she's not returning for season 2, essentially whoever does season 2 can explain these mysteries any way they want. I think we need to get used to the fact that when time travel and multiversal travel and things and people who exist outside of time or beyond time, the logic is gonna get a little bit fuzzy. We might never get spelled out lists of rules that make complete sense and explain everything. There's also the matter of Miss Minute. There's a lot of things in the final episode that tell us more about Miss Minute and deepen the mystery even further at the same time. Because the way He Who Remains says, is she still calling me He Who Remains? Make it seem like she is an independent entity, at least to an extent. Like he's not in complete control of her. If he created her, she's at least an AI like Jervis who can make her own decisions and have her own personality. We know for sure that she's working for Kang. And we also know she can't be everywhere at the same time. Because she was intercepting Loki and Sylvie in that scene, she was late to meet Rennslayer. Which leads me to the question, exactly what did she show Rennslayer? I mean, part of it have to be the information about her being a variant and her origin. So if you listen closely to what she says in that scene with Mobius, she says, we don't get free will, only the person in charge do. But once she exits stage left, she leaves saying she's going in search of free will. That more or less confirmed to me that she went away so she can find a way to be in charge of the TVA, properly in charge. Maybe the file spells out her origins and her connection to Kang, and she's gone off seeking him. Maybe that's his insurance policy, just in case Sylvie took the path she took. Maybe Rennslayer will be instrumental in bringing back this version of Kang that is now in charge of the TVA. I mean, I'm not sure the version we will see in charge of the TVA in season 2 will call himself Kang. That statue, he's definitely wearing Kang's uniform except the helmet. But I don't think we will get somebody named Kang the Conqueror properly until Ant-Man and the Wasp. I have a feeling season 2 will deal with Kang variants running around and causing havoc in the timeline. And Loki and the TVA will have to run around and patch everything up while trying to solve the bigger mystery like where Sylvie's gone to and what happens to their memory and why is everything different again. And Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania will deal with a proper Kang the Conqueror probably living in that tease Easter egg Chronopolis in the quantum realm. Maybe that version even escaped calling of the multiverse into the sacred timeline to get rid of all the Kang variants by staying in the quantum realm in that city. And as for Mobius and the TVA agent not remembering Loki and how they'll get their memory back, maybe Loki's newly acquired skills in enchantment will come in handy at unlocking their true personality, true origin. I hope they don't really draw it out. It is a personal pet peeve of mine that I really hate one person can remember things but the other person can't. I hope that gets resolved pretty quickly. And as for the multiverse returning, we're going to see its impact pretty quickly in What If, which is premiering in only a few weeks, August 11th. Of course, there's a Doctor Strange movie called Multiverse of Madness looming. There are also a lot of rumors about its impacting Spider-Man Homecoming, Doc Ock version from Sam Raimi's movie, and Electro from the Andrew Garfield's movie are returning. There are also rumors, and please remember these are unconfirmed rumors, that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire themselves will be returning, which could mean that it is a multiverse story as well. But I think it could also impact a lot of the other movies in subtle ways, probably in a lot lesser ways than fans are theorizing and hoping for. And also I think there are a lot of implications over exactly how the MCU will work going forward, not only in fiction, but also how the business is run. I'm going to make a separate video covering all of that, so keep an eye out for that. So like and subscribe and leave me a comment telling me what you think of the finale and what do you want from season 2 and what do you think is coming. Were you happy with the big Kang reveal at the end? That's it from me for now, you big nerds. Peace.